What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Trades Talk. I just got back from Phoenix, Arizona from the Lawn and Landscape Technology Conference. I'm going to break down some of the stuff that we learned, some of the new products coming to market, and just share the general energy of the landscape industry in the tech world. Before I get to that, our Disruptor newsletter dropped yesterday, and I just want to highlight a few things from it. First off, there are two levels of AI right now. Depending on what level you are in, I have a challenge for you. Okay, so level one is those who are just playing with AI. Maybe you don't use it every day. Maybe you downloaded Claude or ChatGPT, you got into the hype and you kind of fallen off. My recommendation is this is similar to the internet, but times 10. And if you are able to find ways to utilize AI in your daily life, both in and outside of your business, on a daily basis, it is going to help you in so many ways, but most importantly, it's going to help you in the future as AI starts to become a more important part of your life. Now, you don't have to embrace AI, right? Like, that is totally fine. And there's a lot of people who have never really embraced social media and never really embraced the internet, and they probably live great, wonderful lives. I don't know, because I've always embraced technology. But for those who do believe that AI is going to be a huge part of our future industry complex, our economy, our business operating principles, and our daily life, it's better to start now than wait down the road. So if you're in that level one where you're not quite using it daily, start finding ways to use it. A few ways that I use it that I recommend is just use it as a personal trainer in the gym. Use it as a cooking consultant to help you come up with meals and meal plan and recipes that you would normally not think of. Use it to do research on topics that you're very interested in. In fact, quick story, this week I got to fly a 2024 Cirrus G7. Incredibly advanced airplane, very, very technology focused. There are basically no buttons. There's a few switches, everything's touchscreen, and it's just an incredibly complex airplane. I took the POH, the Pilot Operating Handbook. It's 364 pages. I read through it as much as I can with a 48-hour notice before I went flying. But what I did is I took that POH and I dropped it into Notebook LM, Google's product. And I highly recommend doing this for something that you're interested in learning. I took that POH, I dropped it in, and then I asked Notebook LM to create a 1-hour podcast talking about the POH in areas that are most important for the flight. And for me, number one is emergency procedures. I want to have the emergency procedures memorized. So if you take off in the Cirrus G7 and you are 200 feet and the engine fails, there's only one thing to do. It is to turn off the fuel, it is to completely turn off the plane, and it is to try to land. And if you can, unlatch the doors before you land in whatever field or hopefully a flat area you can find. Now, if you're above 600 feet, the CAP system, which is the parachute system in the plane, is available. That CAP system can only be deployed going less than 140 knots and above 600 feet. So at 600 feet, flaps and caps are available. And there's some other things like where the fire extinguisher is. I know, like, right away, the fire extinguisher is above the left knee of the co-pilot seat. These are things that are really important to memorize before you fly any new plane. Even if you're with an instructor, I have so much love for the CFIs and CFIIs out there. You guys are amazing. But as a pilot, I take it seriously to know that I understand the emergency procedures and I'm not putting my life completely into other people's hands. Coming back to everything, Notebook LM is a great way for you to learn about things that you want to learn about. Here's another thing. Opus 5 came out from Claude. So what I do is I went into Notebook LM. I said, hey, scour the internet for all things about Opus 5, what's working, what's not, why we should use the new Claude product, why we shouldn't, what use cases are coming out, and create a 15-minute podcast about it that I can listen to. And you can do flashcards, you can do a video explanator, like a whiteboard explanator. It's a really cool product. So anyway, that's just something that is daily utilization of AI. Now, if you are level 2 AI, this means you're using AI every single day. You're deploying agents within your business that take actions on your behalf. You have workflows that run automatically throughout the day, or every single morning at 7 a.m. you're getting some type of brief that takes action on that brief. Then I challenge you to audit those workflows. Now, over the last 5 to 6 months, you've probably built a lot of pretty amazing things and tools that you're super proud of. I know I have. When's the last time you did a true audit? So my question to you guys, and my challenge to you, is if you are in level 2 AI and you've developed workflows and you're doing some really cool shit, go ahead and audit those workflows from a really, really objective place and see if you can find issues with them. Most likely, I believe what you're gonna find is you're gonna find workflows that were created a month ago or 2 months ago that you're gonna laugh when you read it because it's so bad. And it's not because you are bad at using AI, it's because you've advanced so much in the last 30 to 60 days. And what usually takes 1 to 2 years in terms of time and development is taking 1 to 2 months in AI. So when you are building out these things, you have to go back and audit your previous work on a regular basis. So I highly recommend doing this, not just in your personal life, but definitely in your business. Make sure that what you're doing, how you're utilizing AI and how you're deploying AI is going to be at the highest level possible. The other thing I wanted to bring up from the advantage is the newsletter is called The Disruptor Advantage. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I love doing this. There's a podcast with David Sindra and Toby Ludkey. Toby is the CEO of Shopify, and his mission is to help CEOs and entrepreneurs build businesses. So it's just an incredible story. And one of the things that like really stood out for me was basically when COVID happened, he went in and audited his entire company. He looked at all of the current projects that were in process, what they were trying to build out, the new products they were trying to build out, and he basically canceled 60% of those projects because they were not going in the direction that he believed and he said the vision of the company should be going into. What can we learn from this? Well, what we can learn from this is basically that Toby found drift within his own company. And I challenge you to do the same thing, because most likely there are people in your company working on projects that you are not aware of. If you have more than 20 or 40 employees, if you have more than 100, it's for sure happening. And the question is, are those projects, are those developments, are those changes to your offerings, to your product, to your client profiles, are those changes going in the direction that you believe as a CEO and visionary the company should be going into? When you get drift around strategic focus and you're not doing quarterly planning sessions and weekly meetings and not everybody is aligned on the same page, you are going to have a very hard time accomplishing your goals and you're going to waste a lot of money. This is why most companies are not profitable today, at least many that I talk to. So let's dive into some of the other things happening in the AI space and in the technology space within the landscape industry. So at Lawn and Landscape Tech Conference, there were a ton of new exhibitors and a ton of recurring exhibitors. There's some really cool products coming to market and some physical AI that's really exciting. Kress obviously had a great showing there with some amazing products. Big shout out to Kress. As you guys know, they're a big partner of the pod. And if you have not demoed their handheld equipment, this is like your reminder. As we were getting into the autonomous and robotics and the 60-inch Voyager coming out, Andy, their new head of product, shout out Andy, he was telling me how impressed he is. He's been there for 3 months. He's saying how impressed he is with their handheld equipment. So Andy comes from Husqvarna and has been in the industry for a very long time. And what he sees with Kress is a new level of battery performance. Not just the battery and the power, but also the actual equipment itself, the durability, the usability, and the application of that equipment. So it was kind of like this reminder that although we're running towards autonomous mowers and we're doing all this cool stuff and shiny object, don't forget the basics. Don't forget to move over to electric equipment and really give your clients that satisfaction, that client experience they deserve. The other things I was looking at the show were just some really cool products coming to market. Some very niche AI and technology products that are serving very specific parts of the workflow that we operate in as a landscape business. So I would encourage all of you to go to lawnandlandscape.com. I think it's lawnlandscape.com. Search it up. Find their magazine. Go in and look at the exhibitor list for the Lawn and Landscape Technology Conference and see who's on there. Do a little research. Maybe ask Notebook LM to give you a little, download of everybody that attended the show, sponsored the show, and exhibited at the show, and what their technology does. You might find a new technology that is offering something that you did not know that fixes a major problem in your business. And that is what's so cool. Many of the technologies that are coming to market are from past landscape operators. As you guys know, we have a lot of consolidation in the landscape industry. So a lot of those individuals are leaving when they're not to compete or their earn-out runs out. They leave those platforms and they go and start new technology businesses, solving a major problem that they know they have had in the platform to solve that problem. And that is what's one of the coolest things about the landscape industry. Once people are in, they're in. It's super addicting because it's such an amazing industry with such amazing people. Also, Sean killed it on his speech. Shout out Sean Laux. He did such an amazing job. Sean, as you guys know, is the leader of technology innovation at K&D. And 6, 7, 8 months ago, he was an account manager. So he gave the whole talk about how he was a technologist inside of an account manager's body. He was not loving it. He was not winning as an account manager. And thanks to the team at K&D, we were able to find the technologist within Sean and able to move him into a position that he is absolutely thriving in. And if you were to come in and you look at what the technology is inside of K&D, what we've built, our operating systems, our AI connectivity, our agents, all this really cool stuff, you would be blown away to know that just 7 short months ago, Sean was an account manager. That's how quickly things are moving inside of K&D right now. And that's why I think this weekly update is so fun to do, because every week I have so much to talk about the progress we're making, not just inside of K&D, but inside the entire industry. So what Sean did was actually, I was on the fence about this, guys. I had a hard time agreeing to this, but I ultimately was down to share. He played a 3-minute video of basically an overview of our operating system, at least a part of it. And this is something I've been kind of keeping under wraps. I've shared a little bit, I've talked about it, but this is the first time he shared an internal video explaining exactly what this operating system does and how it operates. And if you were there at the show, well, then you probably had your mind blown a little bit about how this thing is going to change our business. And if you weren't at the show, then I recommend joining the Disruptors and coming to our AI Roundtable on Monday, where we're going to be talking in detail about our operating system. But let me just break it out. Every single company has an operating system. Every single company has one. It's just how well defined is it? How well built out is it? And is it AI compatible? Or is it AI generated or AI built or AI native, whatever you want to call. So going back, way back to 2015, we started our operating system truly defining and operating on the scale-up methodologies that sat on top of the Rockefeller habits. This was all really built by Vern Harnish and the scale-up community. Jonathan Goldhill showed us these, and we operate on our business very, very strong to build out our operating system. We then went on to EOS, which is the Entrepreneur Operating System, and that was in 2018. Around 2022, we kind of shifted to the K&D Operating System, where we had a bit of a hybridized approach to things, where we have our K&D way, our fundamentals, we have our predictive index, we have products like Team Engine and Aspire and others that feed into our operating system, and then we have our L10 weekly meetings that kind of fit into that EOS bucket. But every single quarter, we run our quarterly planning sessions, and we have a specific operating system that we created and that we've systemized over the years. This has enabled us to go and scale from 1 to 2 million in 2015 to now over 24 million today. The operating systems aren't new. Everybody has one. What we are doing differently at K&D is we are simply creating agentic workflows within that operating system, and we are localizing the user interface of the operating system. So instead of having for EOS to log into 90IO or Bloom or EOS.com, we have our own K&D OS that we log into, and it looks just like a EOS platform, which is a few little changes that we've been wanting to make anyway. There's other products that we have basically created UIs for, and For 90IO and Bloom, we don't need their products anymore, so those just kind of go away. But for products like QuickBooks and Aspire and Team Engine and Innova and so on and so forth, those feed into the operating system. So less people, hopefully no one, except our controller, needs to log into QuickBooks, right? But our entire team can have different levels of access to look at the QuickBooks data. And this is big because our general ledger and our overhead buckets and our chart of accounts and our balance sheet do not live in Aspire. They live in QuickBooks. And so for our leadership team and our management team, let's say there's 40 of them that I want to have access to a certain amount of data. For me to give them access, I would have to give them access to QuickBooks. But I don't want to do that. And I don't want to make a bunch of logins to QuickBooks because that just opens up a bunch of security issues. What I would rather do is take the QuickBooks data, drop it into a database, normalize that data to speak the language that we want it to speak, and then install a user interface and an AI intelligent layer on top of that data so my entire team can interface with that data. This allows them to have one login for not just Bloom and for their strategic side of things. Bloom is kind of that EOS thing I was saying. They can run their weekly meetings in it. They can run their to-do lists in it. They can even look at their emails and send emails in it. They can also query and pull financial data into it, job costing data, customer data. It goes on. And again, I don't want to spend this whole podcast talking about it, but I think it's really important that you're looking at what other companies are doing and trying to implement the things that work for you. Now, this is not a revolutionary idea. This is not brand new. This is not just us doing it. I think we're doing it really well, but we're looking at a lot of other companies outside the industry that are also doing this really well. And when you look at companies that are doing over $1 billion in revenue, you start to see something very interesting. They start to in-house a lot of their data. They start to in-house a lot of their ERPs. They start to in-house and build custom softwares because they're so big and so unique, it's hard to get an off-the-shelf off-the-shelf plug-and-play software that actually works for them. All to say, if you aren't doing any of this, you're not necessarily falling behind. I want that to be really clear that you're not falling behind yet. But it's really important that you continue to make progress on this journey because if you don't move quickly, you will start to fall behind. Now, if you're a smaller business and you are looking to invest in technology, but you can't afford to hire someone full-time like we can, then you're going to want to partner with more software companies to help solve your problems because you're going to invest a lot of money and you're not going to get a lot of return on that money in the short term. And that can really dry up your cash flows and make it really hard to operate. Here's another big mistake that I heard a lot of people doing. And I'm not going to name any names, but I hear a lot of people actively trying to replace their existing software. And these are landscapers, trade professionals that say, look, I don't want to use QuickBooks anymore. I'm going to build my own. Fuck, man. I'm really okay, tell me more. And there's other softwares that people are trying to replace and build replacements for, custom replacements. And I just think it's not the time. I think you're a little early on that. I think you're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money trying to replace an ERP or a financial software. And it's not going to be as good. It's definitely not going to be as reliable. Your code base is going to continuously break and bug out. And you're going to spend more time fixing that than running your landscape business. Where I would recommend you spend time is finding and developing and deploying the AI layer within your business. Because most of the legacy softwares still, to this day, do not have strong native AI. Even QuickBooks, as great as they are, their native AI is pretty junky. We don't use it. So instead of trying to replace QuickBooks or Aspire or Greenius or one of these others, utilize those softwares like K&D does and build an intelligent layer on top of it. That is the area that I believe you should be focusing in if you want to go and start focusing on technology within your business and building custom things, which I'm all for. I love building custom stuff, but let's think about where we're spending energy and let's be very, very cautious about wasting time trying to replace a software that took 10 years, 20 years, 40 years to build. So with that, guys, we're going to start wrapping up. If you aren't following the disruptors yet, give us a follow. We're on LinkedIn. We try to post as much as possible. And Trades Talk Podcast has some amazing guests coming out. You guys are listening, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.